Um, okay, so first you
just
said
in time for Marchuk to show up.
Yoshua, we're starting. Don't get angry.
Yeah. Where's the other mashgiach?
And it's so nice to see you too, Simon. Where you been?
He just got over the 5-minute warning insult.
Some of us have things to do.
Oh.
Not me, of course.
I just came from the Zoom Vart, Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. We just hired a new rabbi in town, so I was just on that.
Very nice. Poor rabbi.
Where did we end off?
Someone starting the clock on him. How long he lasts?
I got the over at about a year and a day.
Okay, we're starting. We're going to be starting from the bottom of Tzadi Tesam Beis on the bottom. Where's Marchuk? I meant to text him today.
Yeah.
Because across the street from you is going to be featured very much in tonight's daf.
Uh-oh.
Where the Eruv is, and I thought about asking you to go across there. I don't know if that's, if you're allowed to go, out of the house that far and take a picture of it. But you'll decide whether you'll.
I have the Eruv book if you need it.
What?
Are you talking about the V?
The V. Well, next to the V. What connects to the V? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever. We'll get to it. Anyways, okay. So Daf Tzadi Tes, the Chazara, the hooks of the curtains look like stars because they're made out of gold with the purple background. The goat hair curtains required much more expertise than the other curtains because they were done while they were still on the goats. The total width of the wagons, and that's where the measurement of reshus harabim comes from for Eruv. Then the Mishna says putting items on and taking items off of a rock or a pile of dirt, and then on to Amid Beis. I didn't write that. Okay, the dirt piled up from a hole combines with the hole to make a depth of 10 tefachim, to make it reshus hayachid. Then drinking from a watering hole on Shabbos, then throwing something that lands on top of a rock that's 10 tefachim high and 4 tefachim wide, right? We said it has to have like a little indentation. And then we said about throwing, which is going to be tonight's Mishna also, throwing a dried fig onto a wall of 4 Amos, right? So we discussed basically cases of where the Isser happens at the same exact time as you eliminate this. Meaning if you had a bar 9 tefachim deep, which is considered reshus harabim, and then you dig out 1 tefach, you take a tefach rock out of it, so it becomes a reshus hayachid at the same time as you took it out from a reshus, as you took it from reshus harabim. So it happened at the same time. Which way do we go with it? So that's basically what we said, and then we had that last thing which was teku. Okay, so back 2 lines up from the bottom. I'm on page 198 or Tzadi Tesam Beis. So Amar Rava, Pshita li mayim al gabi mayim hainu hanachosim. Water on top of water is the hanocha. Meaning, if you take water off of an ocean, let's say, right? So is that water considered like it's resting on something? So we say yes. Water on top of water is considered like it's on the ground, and you're picking it up off the ground. Right, so that's what you're saying. Mayim al gabi mayim hainu hanachosim. That is the way you place it down. Ego is al gabi mayim. But if you take a walnut or a nut from that's floating on the water, that's not hanachosim. And Rashi says, and if you take it from there, that's not called an akira. That's not called picking it up, right? Meaning, if you have a little pond of water that's a reshus hayachid, and you pick up the nut from that little pond, and you bring it and carry it and put it down reshus harabim, you did not do an akira. Again, in order to be chayiv, you have to have an akira, picking it up, and a hanacha, placing it down. If you take water off of water, that's called an akira. If you take a nut off of water, that's not an akira.
What about the other way? Let's say I throw something and it lands on water. I throw a nut and it lands on water. That's not hanacha either because it's not at its restful state.
It's interesting that you're saying that because the Gemara, Rashi just seems to be talking about taking it off.
Right, I'm looking the other way.
He doesn't really discuss putting it down. Yeah. So I would think
shouldn't one indicate the other?
I would think so. I think that they're both the same. No. That's what I would
don't
think.
know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Not necessarily.
It seems like Rashi's just avoiding this. He's not even talking about it.
Right.
I mean, the Gemara says lav hainu anachasim, so that the Gemara seems to imply that it doesn't have enough.
Well, it means
Rashi
I
seems
think
to
the
talk
hanacha
about-
there means that it's not placed.
That's
not called picking it up from a resting place.
right,
Listen,
but Rashi, I think that's a finishing way because the Gemara doesn't seem to imply that at all. The Gemara says lav hainu anachasim.
Well, it just means that that's not
is-
called its normal resting place. Meaning, like if you take something off of a fire hydrant, which is a makom patur, right? So is that if alachar it's a makom patur, but you take something off a fire hydrant, so then that's not called an akira because it didn't come from someplace that was reshus hayachid.
Right.
Okay, let's see. I don't know. I would think that it's the same, but maybe not. I believe that I'll try and look. So boy, Rava, ego is bekli. The kli tzafa gabi mayim ma'u. If you have a nut that's in a kli and the kli is floating on the water, so then what's it in? Mi amrina basar egois as linan. Do we say that you go with the egois? And we said that that's not called the resting place. V'hon naich, right? And it's resting on a kli, meaning our egois on the water is not called resting on something. But if it's resting on a kli, it is. Who cares that the kli is on water? We just look at the egois on the kli. Nor do we say the kli, and the kli is resting on the water, and a water is not a place that you normally keep a kli. So teku, we say teku. Okay. Again, it's a nut on top of a kli, and the kli is on the water. So if you just look at the nut and the kli, so the nut is on some place that's normal for it to be. If you look at it, with the kli on the water, then that's not a normal place to be. Fine. Shemen al gabi yayin machlokes Rav Yochanan ben Rabanan. What about shemen on top of wine? That's a machlokes Rav Yochanan ben Rabanan. The Tanan shemen shetzof al gabi yayin. If you have oil that's floating on top of wine, but nagat tful yom b'shemen, and the tful yom touches the shemen, loy pasal ella shemen. Simon, with tumen tara for you tonight, right? So he will only make the shemen puzzle, right? Meaning we know that by tumen tara, when you have a tful yom, so all he's going to do is puzzle the thing that he touches. He's not going to make it tummy, he's just going to make it puzzle, which means that the thing that touches that is going to be nothing, right? Because only something tummy can make something else tummy, right? So the end of the line would be touching the oil. So now, therefore, since oil and wine don't mix, so therefore we look at them like the two separate entities. Right, so you see clearly shemen shetzofa gabi yayin v'nogat fuyam b'shemen loy pasal ela shemen. Right, Rabbi Yochanan ben Mishneim chibur zelazeh. No, they're still touching each other, so therefore they're considered one, and therefore both the wine and the oil are going to be tummy. Amar. What is that word? Because mine it's blank. What's the next word there? Amar aviv.
Abaye.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, Amar. Yes, it's okay. Yeah, it's messed up in my Gemara. Yeah. Amar Abaye.
Yeah.
You would think I didn't learn this stuff already today, and I would remember, but of course not. Yeah. Anyways, we have that machlokes. What?
You don't have anything else like life-changing going on in your life, Zadie. So whatever.
I thought you were gonna say I'm a Zadie now. That's definitely entrance into the club.
That's what I said. All right. Okay, Zadie, no worries.
I appreciate it. Anyways, okay, so that's that. So now new Gemara. Amar Abaye. Bar b'shus ramamuka soror chava shmeina. Okay, this now goes back to the previous Gemara. If you have a bar that's in reshus harabim, that's 10 tefachim deep, which we know that's reshus hayachid because it's 10 tefachim deep. Urachava shmeina, and it's 8 Amos. It's 8 tefachim wide. V'zarak l'soicha machzeles, and you threw a mat into it, chayiv, right? Because you threw it's a reshus hayachid. You stand in reshus harabim. This thing is 8 tefachim wide. 10 tefachim deep, it's a reshus hayachid. You throw a mat into there, and that's throwing from reshus harabim to reshus hayachid. You chayiv. Chilka b'machzeles potter. If you throw the mat in sideways, so now you just split the hole, and now you have 2 holes, each one less than 4 tefachim wide. So then that's not a reshus hayachid, right? So it's the same question that we left off with at the bottom of the Amud with the last teku, which is that at the same time that you're throwing it into a reshus hayachid, you are now making it lose its reshus hayachid status. So how do you look at it? Do you look at it before this mat goes in there, or do you look at it afterwards? If you look at it before, then he's going to be chayiv. If you look at it, what the end result is, then it's potter, because there's one bar there's 2 bars. Each one has less than 4 tefachim. So labaya the pshita le the machzelas mevat mechitza kol shekain chulya the mevat mechitza. According to Abaya, that it's pashut to him, right? So Abaya he says that to him it's pashut, that the machzelas is mevatel the mechitza, and that's why you're potter. So in kol shekain chulya the mevatel mechitza. So kol shekain the case with the rock, right, where you pull out the rock and that makes it 10. That would also be mevatel mechitza. Rabbi Yochanan the mivaile chulya. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, who didn't know that, he was not sure about it. Machzelas pshita the loy mevatel mechitza. To him, putting this mat sideways, it's pashut that it would not be mevatel mechitza and you would be chayiv. Amar Abaya, another case. Bar b'shus harabim amuka asar rechava arba melei mayim. But this is a bar that's full of water. And you throw something in there, you chayiv. Melei peiros v'zarek l'seicha potter. But if it's full of fruit, right, a big, huge hole of fruit, then you're going to be potter. Again, if it's full of water and you put something down on it, you're chayiv. If it's full of fruit, you're potter. My time of mayim loy mevatel mechitza. Water is not mevatel mechitza. Peiros mevatel mechitza, but fruit is mevatel the mechitza, and we look at it like it's a hole that's no longer 10 tefachim deep because the fruit filled it in. Tanya nami hachi. We also learned the brayso hazarik min hayam leisratia umin asratia liyam potter. Asratia is a street, a highway, right? So if you throw something from the water, which is a carmelis, that's no man's land, says the Rabanan, leisratia to the street, umin asratia liyam, or from the esratia to the water. Again, the esratia is reshus harabim. The water is a carmelis, right? Umin asratia liyam, or either way. Right? So the first sheet says it's potter. Then Reb Shimon has a chiddush. He says that if the area where the water is, there's a deep hole under that water that goes 10 tefachim deep and it's 4 tefachim wide, then that hole gets the status of a reshus hayachid, and then that's as if you're throwing from reshus hayachid to a reshus harabim, and you're going to be chayiv, right? Yeah, so that's a very interesting thing. That means anytime you have water, according to Reb Shimon, you have to know what's going on under the water. Right? Normally, we look at water that it's a carmelis. So if you're standing by the beach, let's say, and you decide to you decide from the street, let's say there's no Erev, obviously, right? And you're standing at the end of Beach 9th Street, and you decide you're going to take bread and throw it into the water, right? So that's a reshus harabim to a carmelis. Right? But according to Reb Shimon, you'd have to know how deep is the hole under where the water is that the bread landed. Because if it's deep, then that's going to be considered reshus hayachid. Okay? Which is a shtickle chiddush. Fine. And obviously what we're learning from, according to Reb Shimon, that we don't look at the water as if it's mevatel the mechitza, which is what we were saying. Because if water is mevatel mechitza, so then who cares if there's a hole 10 tefachim deep? The water fills it in. So clearly it seems like according to all opinions, we hold that water is not mevatel not mevatel the mechitza. Okay, so the Mishna, right? This Mishna we had last night. So azarik arba amos b'kaisel. If you throw something onto a wall 4 amos away, lamala me'asar tefachim kezarik ba'avir. If the thing landed on the wall above 10 tefachim, we know that above 10 tefachim is no longer a reshus harabim, right? So it's like throwing it in the air, and you're going to be potter. Lamata me'asar tefachim kezarik ba'aretz. Less than 10 tefachim is like throwing in the land. And if you throw something on the land for arba amos, then you are chayiv. Okay. So the Gemara asks for haloi noch. Right. This is exactly Gemara last night. It didn't rest anywhere. Let's say, assuming it's a ball, right? You're taking a ball, you're throwing it 4 amos against the wall, right? I don't think that's a sport that Rabanan. I don't think they play this sport anymore around, right, off the wall and all that type of stuff. Yeah. For haloi noch. Yeah, it didn't rest. The ball bounces right back off the wall, right?
Why they don't play it in Shayosha? Well, they used to play it in Shayosha, but
I guess that's true.
Stick ball.
I forgot.
No, but they
They still play handball.
between the dining room and
Stick
the
ball.
Right, that's true. Right, in Shayosha, I don't know. I'm not so sure of that. I'm not sure they play it anymore in Shayosha. I don't know. I think we moved on from there. Maybe not.
I don't
Certainly
know.
not.
Maybe I
Rav
was
Yisrael.
right there. I don't know since I left. So
It
There are
must be
plenty
you.
of
Since
public
you
houses
left,
about
since
it.
you left, it must be you took the trend with you or something. I don't know.
There are plenty of parks that have it.
Yeah.
Yaakov, when you're belting it out on Yom Narayim and I'm doing groups, that's exactly what's going on in that area over there.
Oh yeah. Okay. I guess I'm not so inspirational. Is that what you're saying? All right. I'll take it.
I didn't say the 40-year-olds were doing that, maybe more like the 12-year-olds.
Okay.
The
Anyways,
40-year-olds are drinking.
Anyways, so for Haloi Nach, right? So Dr. Gemara, it didn't rest, right? You bounce right back off the wall. So Rav Yochanan b'Devela Shmeina Shani. No, we're talking about a fatty, dried fig that sticks to the wall. Fine. So Rav Yudah Marav, Rav Chia, Zorak L'Mala Me'asara. Now, if this is a very interesting case, if you throw it, I didn't say it's practical. I just said it's interesting. Yeah. Zorak L'Mala Me'asara. Right? You threw it above 10. And the halcha v'nacha b'chur koshu, but there's a hole in the wall, and it went and it rested in a small hole. This comes to a machlokes between Ramei and Rabbanan. The Amar chaykikin lahashlim mechayev. Whether we say chaykikin is, do you look at it like you chisel it out in order to complete it to a shear, right? Whether chaykikin lahashlim mechayev. Right, whether you mechayiv something by choyking lahashim, we'll get to that in a minute. The Rabanan damri ain't choyking lahashim. According to the Rabanan, they say you don't look at it like it's chiseled out and open, like mechayiv, and you're not going to be chayiv. Yeah, again, according to the mayor that says choyking lahashim, you're going to be chayiv on Shabbos. The Rabanan, you're not choyking. Basically, when you have a doorway, the machlokes is talking about you have a doorway, a fancy doorway that comes to a, how do you say it? It comes to a point. Meaning it does not normally. Most normal doorways are square, right? But sometimes people have in there between the living room and dining room that it doesn't go square. It goes on an angle, right? It's like an arch. An arch. There you go. An arched doorway, right? So now the arched doorway doesn't necessarily have the shear near the top for the width of a doorway, right? So what the Rameir says. What you do is you look at it as if it is a square door. You look at it as if it was chiseled out, even though it's there. But you look at it like it's chiseled out. That's Rameir's shita. And Rabbanan's shita is you don't look at it like it's chiseled out. So according to Rameir, so we'd say the same thing. If you have a hole in the wall and you threw this thing into the wall on Shabbos and it rested inside the wall. Now inside that little hole in the wall is not a big enough measurement to be chayiv for putting something down on Shabbos. But you look at it like it's bigger and you chisel it out, just like you do it for mezuzah, you'll do it for this, and therefore you're going to be chayiv. So the same machlokes that we have by mezuzah, that we look at the opening as if it has the proper amount of measurements. So to Hilchos Shabbos is going to do the same thing. Right? Tanya Nami Hachi, right?
So Yaakov, let's say the wall is not.
It's here. You're making the guy. He's having a schus. Now he can put a mezuzah on his door, and here you're giving the guy milk, misa, or whatever it is, because you're not accomplishing the same.
You're saying one is l'chumra, one is you're doing it as a benefit, and one you're not.
Right.
I hear. Meaning we're always looking to get a guy out of Shabbos.
Right.
And here you're saying this rule, and it's going to actually be a liability. Yeah, I hear. That's a good order. I hear. Yeah, very good. What are you saying, Akiva?
My question is, you have a wall, and it's obviously the crevice is above 10 tefachim, but it needs for the width of it to be 4 tefachim. Does that mean width as in depth, or width as in going the length of the wall, like across?
No,
the
just
wall?
one. I think either way, as long as it has one way or the other. That's the way I understand it. What's one got to be one way?
Let's say, I'm just putting out a scenario. Let's say it's a very small wall and it doesn't even have 4 tefachim to it, and it's a very thin wall.
I think
would
you're
you
right.
Would you assume it?
I think you're right. That would not.
So it has to have the potential to be true, meaning it has to have the potential that if you would widen
you can't make it have a 4 if the wall is not thick enough. I think you can't. No.
I don't know.
I don't think. How can you say
we're creating theoreticals as it is? I'm saying.
Right, but it has to have.
Where does the theoretical stop? That's what I'm asking. Where does the theoretical stop?
But I guess it has to be 4 tefachim. No. That's
Just
what I would
clarify.
think.
I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah, the potential has to be there. If the
Right.
right, the potential has to be there. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I will see. I don't know if
Understand
we'll
this
see
whole
it today.
thing.
I don't know if we'll see it today. We'll see in the next couple of blot that it only has to be 4 tefachim one way. It does not have to be 4 by 4. So l'chayra, it's got to at least have one way. Yeah.
Right.
What is this wall?
What is it? It's just another brick in the wall. What should I tell you? Ah, there you go. Okay.
Is it Reshus Hayachid? Is Reshus?
I hope the Olam understood
No,
that one.
but
Maybe
it's
I
the
hope
end
they
of
didn't.
Reshus Harabim. So presumably we're talking about it's Reshus Hayachid.
Anti-Semite.
Yaakov, he's an anti-Semit chayara.
I know. That's why I was saying I hope the Olam doesn't know. Yeah. What are you saying,
What?
Gershon?
This wall is Reshus Hayachid, right?
The wall is a reshus hayachid, but you don't have a shear.
Where don't you have a shear?
That little hole is not a shear of dalit. Meaning it doesn't have a din reshus hayachid.
But the wall is
enough of a
what do I
shear.
care?
What?
Where's the end of the Reshus Harabim? At the edge of this wall.
No, so then that would be what do you call it? That's not enough of
No, it's a makam
hanach.
tour. No, it's
Right,
not.
it would be a
It's not
makam
necessarily.
patur. No, I
What?
think it would
It's
even have a din of reshus harabim.
It's the
If
wall
it's
of
less
my
than
house,
4,
right?
it's a less than 4 tvachim. It's a makam.
It's a makam
You have to
patur.
have-
It's a makam patur. Until it has 4 tefachim, it's a makam patur. I think it's
Wait.
a Gemara later. So then, what about landing on the,
What
on
about
the
the hole?
face of
What's
it?
the-
What about landing on the face of it? That's not makam patur. Meaning, there's a difference between landing on the face, in which case it does have 4 tefachim, but landing inside it does not.
But-
Landing inside it doesn't.
I'm still not sure why.
I don't know. It's freezing up. Okay, we got to
Why
go
the
by
hole is
anyways because it's
different
getting
than the
late.
wall. The wall-
What? We really got to wait for Erevin for these Gemaras. That's the truth. Yeah. Okay, let's eat that. Tani nami hochi. Zorak lamala me'asara v'holcha v'nocha b'chor kolshu. If you throw it above 10 and it goes and it rests in a chor kolshu, Rameir mechayev v'chacham pajim. Rameir says chayim v'cham say potter. Right? Same. You see clearly in the brisa they have the same machloikas that they have by mezuzah they have here. So Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, tell him it's lakit. Right? Yeah. So if you have a tel means a hill. Hamislakit, that it's on an angle, okay, which is 4 tefachim. For every 10, as it goes up 10, it needs to go 4 amos, right? Again, it's gotta be steep enough that for every 10 tefachim, right, it goes dalet amos, and then we look at it like it's a straight up wall, even though it's on an angle. We look at it like it's a straight up wall. Right, tell him mislaket asara mitoich arba, the zorak benoch al gabav chayiv you're chayiv. Even though it's in reshus harabim, you're chayiv, because we look at it like it's reshus hayachid. Tani nami hachi mavui sheshav l'soichoy. If you have a mavui, right, the mavui is a courtyard that's equal, that's got a flat floor. Benasa midran reshus harabim, and it goes on an angle to reshus harabim. Or the mavui is on the same length as the reshus harabim, but nasa midran l'soichoy, and there's a drop off in order to get into the mavui. It does not need a lechi. A kaira is a beam to make sure to remind you not to carry out from the mavi, because the mavi is not reshus harabim, right? But you would need a lechi or a kaira in order just to remind you not to carry out of there. But since it's on this telemislakit, this angle, so therefore that acts as a barrier. Rav Chanina ben Gamliel Omer telemislakit asara mitoich arba v'zarok b'noch al gavav chayiv. He says the same thing. That is why I was asking Rabbi Shua Marchuk about it. If anybody noticed the Eruv right on the corner there, across the street from his house, where 878 meets Central Avenue, right? So if you look up there, there's the Eruv there, and it makes like a little triangle, and then it goes to the hill that they created on 878 to cross
The picture
over.
is posted on Group 2.
What?
The picture is posted on Group 2.
On Group 2?
I'm sorry, on Group 2. On our WhatsApp chat, I posted a picture from the Arab book.
Oh, yeah? Okay, so anyway, so there, it's a very steep wall that they had to create a, oh, you're there already?
I'm over here already. What do you mean? I set myself up. Where do you want me to go?
So right up against 878.
This is the corner of 878.
Right, now go to the left. You can. The guys probably can't see the wire. Can you see the wire?
Ah, that's what you're looking for. Okay.
No, don't have to see the wire. No, it's face the camera the other way. Right, so can you see the angle as it goes up? I don't know if the guys can see. You see how the parking lot for the train, and then there's the 878. So that's a sharp drop off right there. Okay, so the Erev actually
Everybody
goes
should
right
pin my
there.
video, no?
What?
They
I
should
can
pin
see
my
it.
video.
I imagine the guys could see it. Right, move it a little bit to the right of the parking lot. There you go. Perfect. You see the hill? No, a little to the left. Little to the left. Right there. So you see it's a hill that goes from 878 down to the parking lot. Right? That's a very sharp drop. That actually acts as our Erev. You can see there's a pole right there. The Erev is there, and then we don't have any Erev there because it's a tela mislaket. It's so steep that therefore that acts as a mechitza for our Erev. That's it.
The tail is the Eruv.
The tail is the Erev. Exactly. Exactly this thing. Exactly what we're saying. The tela mislaket is the Erev. It's the wall of the Erev. And if you would stand where Rabbi Yeshua is standing and you threw a ball and it landed on top of that, if it wasn't in the Erev, then that would be considered reshus hayochid. Right? So that drop off is exactly what we're talking about. All right, you could go back inside. I'm sorry for making you go out.
The drop itself
beautiful.
is on which
I'm just glad it's not February.
That's true. Thank you, but it's very good. We had very good. I appreciate it.
Is the top of the drop?
Isn't it outside?
The bottom of the drop?
Isn't it outside the Erev, Rav Yaakov? Isn't it outside the Erev because you do have that pie piece?
Yes, but that is our Erev. Yes, that is in between there will be. Well, it's complicated how exactly it goes, but that is acting as our Erev.
Yeah, does everybody know what I'm talking about when I say the pie piece?
No, they don't. I don't think they. Only you guys who cut across that grass have any idea what we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, nobody should cut across this grass. It's not.
Yeah, don't cut across the grass there by the train station. Elio, what are you saying?
I know. I was asking: is the top the mechitza or the bottom?
No, the top. The top. That's what Gemara is saying. If you throw it on top of there, that's when you're going to be chayiv. Anywhere lower than the top.
No, that's what I didn't understand. But anywhere on that slope is part of the Erev.
Anywhere on that slope is part of it. The truth is we actually connect to the fence. So really the fence of the train station is the Erev. But the point is, even if without that fence, on the other side, we're using the slope. Yeah. So that's...
Yaakov, tell him it's like it. Doesn't Rashi say that it's like nicha tashmisha lehiluk? Correctly, it's like nicha. That's
the only thing that I've seen. The only thing that I've seen that it's nicha is the kids sledding after it snows.
You're saying it's pretty steep?
It's very steep. It's enough that those kids go flying down here. Yes.
They love it. And there's a good snow. It's a very hot place to be.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's very steep. Yeah, try it. The only problem is it doesn't snow here anymore. That's all. That's the only issue. Yeah. Okay. Zok the Mishna weiter. Yeah.
All right. Now we shouldn't discuss politics.
Okay. Zok the Mishnah. Yes. Zorok l'soich ta'al Amos. V'neskal v'chutz l'ta'al Amos. Potter. If you threw something, Rabanan, I heard your message today. It was very, very geschmack. Yeah. So Zorok l'soich ta'al Amos. V'neskal v'chutz l'ta'al Amos. You threw something. The main thing here is throwing. You throw something within 4 Amos, and I mean the lashon is a little tricky here because nisgalgal, the literal translation means it rolls. That's not what we're talking about here because it's not in the ground. This is in the air. Okay, this is sort of like a boomerang. That's what's going on in this Mishnah. You throw something within Dalet Amos and you plan for it to stay in Dalet Amos, v'nisgalgal chutz l'Dalet Amos, and then it happened to have gone out of the Dalet Amos, so then you're a potter, right? Because obviously your kavanah was for it to not do anything wrong. It was supposed to stay within Dalet Amos, and it ended up going by itself out of Dalet Amos. Chutz l'Dalet Amos, if you planned on throwing it out of the Dalet Amos, then nisgalgal l'soif Dalet Amos, and it came back in, then you're chayiv. Okay, now that's a little shver, that last part of the Mishnah. What do you mean? The bottom line is, I threw it. Yes, it went out of the Dalet Amos in the air, and then it came back in. So at the end of the day, all I did was throw it less than Dalet Amos. So why am I chayiv? Right? Again, the ratio everything makes sense. But the ratio we understand because it's talking about where your intention was not to do something wrong on Shabbos because it was supposed to say within Dalet Amos and then it rolled out of the Dalet Amos. So you're going to be potter. But the Sefer, granted you had in mind to do something wrong on Shabbos, but the end result wasn't. Right? So that's what the Gemara is going to discuss.
So Yaakov, what about gravity? Let's say you throw it at a high point. I mean, let's say I throw it at a high point, really high, but it doesn't go outside Dalet Amos, and it comes down at an angle outside Dalet Amos. So coming down is not coming from your koach. It's coming down from the gravity.
I hear. I don't know. I'm not sure. I have a hard enough time understanding the cases of the Gemara. I'm going to go with that case. I'm not sure. So let's see the Gemara. V'haloi noch. It didn't rest, meaning it didn't rest in outside of Dalet Amos. How can you say you're chayiv? So Amar Rav Yochanan, Husha noch agabi mashahu. It's talking about where, granted, it's not talking about where it just rolled back in or flew back into within Dalet Amos. It's talking about where it rested on something. Now, it doesn't mean really resting on something. Where it's talking about where Rashi says where the wind stalled it in the air, like the wind held it up and then blew it back in. So really, it was as if it did stay in the Dalet Amos, right? And it stopped for a second and then blew it back in. Sort of like a field goal that got held up by the wind, but for a second it just hung there and then it blew it out of the way or something like that. Right? If you threw something out of Dalet Amos and the wind pushed it, and brought it in, even if it goes and brings it back out, potter. Right? That's if the wind just blows it straight. But
is that like a frisbee?
Right, a frisbee would also be good. Yeah, frisbee, right? That frisbee just stalls for a second. Right, very good, thank you. Right? But if the ruach grabs onto it for a second, right? Like that's a good muscle. The frisbee, right? You throw a frisbee and then before it makes that turn, right? It just like stays there for a second and then it goes. I think that would be enough. Yeah. So then you would still be chayiv.
So Michael Jordan staying in the air and not coming down.
The what?
Michael Jordan staying in the air and not coming down.
I hear. Okay. All the sports, Michelle. Where would be without sports, right? Okay. So Amar Rava.
The Gemara is saying resting in the ear is considered resting. It stays in one.
That's the chiddush. Yes, that's the chiddush of the Gemara.
But before at the beginning of the daf, we said resting on water was a shiloh.
Right. So here, I don't think it's pshat that it's resting. It's pshat that it held it up there, meaning, and without the wind, this thing would have rested outside of Dalet Amos. And now some outer being, which is wind in this situation, came and blew it back in. But theoretically, it would have been okay. Right?
Yeah. Without the water, it would have fell down also and hit the bottom.
Without the water. Maybe, okay, so maybe that's why Rashi only, like what Aki was saying, maybe Rashi is only talking about picking it up off the water, not necessarily putting it down.
Well, Rashi does say over here, it's interesting, Rashi does say that it has to be beside Gimel, which means that Rashi says it's because of loved, really. Well, it held momentarily and it's loved.
Yeah, so we're going to see that later on, that it has to be within Gimel, right? That's a good point. It does have to be within 3. If it's above 3, then it's not gonna work, because within 3, it's, yeah. Remember, there was the guy bunted, again, back to sports. The guy bunted, and they were trying to get that ball over the foul line so it would go foul. So it wouldn't be if a guy bends down and starts blowing it, right?
Yeah. Randall on Mets was blowing on the ball. Yeah.
I figured it was a Mets guy trying to do something stupid like that, trying to blow it so that it goes outside of the foul line, right? So that's essentially what's going on over here, too. So once it pauses and it's within 3, so then that's it. That's considered that it's outside the Dalet Amos. Okay, so Amar Rava, 3 lines up from the bottom. Toich Gimel Rabbanon. So this is exactly what Kiva is with. Amar Rava, Toich Gimel Rabbanon Tzarich Hanochal Gabi Mashu. According to the Rabbanon, if it's within 3, then it needs to rest on something. Yeah, meaning we're talking about this is going back a few blot. I don't remember what blot already, but Tzad Design, right? That when you go from reshus through reshus harabim, whether we say kluta or not. Right? So according to the Rabbanan, if it's within 3 and you want it to be chayiv for passing through, again, you're going from a private property through a public, then back to a private. So that we said, the question is, do we look at it like it rested in the reshus harabim or not? So according to the Rabbanan, If it's within 3 and you want it to be considered like it's rested in reshus harabim, it has to rest on something for a second, or the wind has to hold it there. Fine. Yosef Marema v'karmel lahashmaitza. Marema was sitting and said the shmaitza. Amali Ravina leMarema lav hainu masnisin. Isn't this exactly what our Mishna said? So what's your chiddush? When Rabanan said, and Rabbi Yochanan said that it has to be talking about where it rested on a mashu. Amarle misgalgal kamer, misgalgal ain't soifel anoya. You're talking about misgalgal, right? That's the wind pulling it. And again, misgalgal doesn't mean to roll. It means that the wind flying through the air, right? And misgalgal ain't soifel anuach. Aval hai even the soifel anuach. But this, since it's going to rest, avagav the loy noch. Even though you would think that even though it didn't rest command the nachdami, you would think that it's looked at like it's fell down in reshus harabim kamash malon, that it's not. Meaning the case in our Mishnah that we're talking about, where Rabbi Yochanan is talking about, where the thing eventually comes to rest someplace. Here it blew right through the reshus harabim, right? So in order for it to be, you would think that it didn't never land in reshus harabim. So how can you look at it like it rests in reshus harabim? Right, so you would think it would not. So what he's coming to tell you is that as long as the wind within 3 holds on to it for a little bit, then we look at it like it's going to have rested in reshus harabim, and therefore even the Rabanan would say you would be chayiv, even though they don't normally say kluta. Again, going from a reshus hayachid to a reshus hayachid through reshus harabim, if it's within 3, he's saying it still needs to rest for a little bit, like the wind has to hold it up for a little bit. Okay, Zok the Mishnah. If you throw something in the water, dalet Amos, you are potter, right? Because we said water is a carmelis. If you have a rekek mayim, means I don't know how you say it, a puddle, I guess, a puddle of water, and the reshus harabim goes right through it. See, that water, it's not, obviously it's not big enough to be its own entity. It's a big puddle in a street, right? Brookfield Boulevard, let's say, or Peretz's corner, actually. Peretz, you can go out to your corner and everybody could do a hands-on, right? The corner of Beach 9th and Central, right? And when it rains, so you got this reshus harabim going right through this massive puddle, right? So in that body of water, since that takes on the reshus harabim, you would be chayiv if you threw something in there.
Yaakov, would a bridge take on this, what we're talking about here?
A bridge could be independently a reshus harabim, theoretically, if it fits all the parameters, yeah.
No, I'm saying of this case, though.
How? What do you mean? It's got to go through the actual water.
Yeah, something goes over the water. You know those big bridges, like
not over. No, this is going through the water. This would be more a tunnel. Tunnel, actually, maybe. Well, the truth is, tunnels don't go through water; they go under the ground, under the water.
Well, like there's a bridge in Seattle, the I-90 that Mamish rides on top of the water. They didn't do it like a curved one; they did one that rides on top of the water.
And it floats on it, or it's got
a floating bridge. It's a floating bridge.
Wow.
So would that be considered? I don't know.
I don't. Maybe Taka. Yeah.
I can't envision what.
Yeah, wasn't there a highway we went on in one of our trips?
Chesapeake Bay Bridge. Yes.
Yeah, it goes under.
Right, but that's
you're
still under.
Going under the water. You're not going under.
No, you're going under the ground, under the water. All tunnels.
No, but in the middle of the water.
In the middle of the water. Correct.
At one point in time, you're going under.
Yeah, so maybe that's something like this. Yeah. So again, if it goes through the puddle or whichever example you want to do, so then you would be chayiv for throwing it dalet Amos. But it would have to be less than 10 tefachim, because if it's deeper than 10 tefachim, then it has its own property. It takes on the reshus hayachid. Rekek mayim, if you have a puddle of water, reshus harabim ma'alechas boy, and the reshus harabim is going through it, hazarik b'soichet dalet Amos chayiv. If you throw dalet Amos, you chayiv. Now this is repetitive. These last 2 lines, the exact repetition of what the Mishnah just said, which is what the Gemara is going to ask. So the Gemara, Amar le'ahum Rabanan l'Rabba, Bishlama hiluch treizim me. This that it says 2 cases of going through the puddle. Meaning it's telling you that going through a puddle, clearly nobody wants to drive or walk through one of these puddles. Right? So hiluch hayidei is called the hiluch. Tashmish hayidei loishmei tashmish. Using something like hayidei, that's not called using it. Rekek, Trey Zimni, Lumali. What do you need to say? 2 cases of puddles. So Gemara answers, one is talking about during the summer, and one is talking about during the winter. Meaning one is saying a chiddush that even in the summer, it's a problem. We look at the reshus harabim, and one is saying it's even in the winter. But you need both cases. If it would have just said one, that's only considered a reshus harabim going through the puddle in the summer. Davidi inchi demaski lakura nafshayo. People are happy to walk through puddles because they're the word maski means to walk. La kure nafshayo means to cool off themselves. So you walk through a cold puddle of water, it's kishmak. In the summer, you cool off. But nobody's happy to go in the freezing cold to go through a puddle. And if you're going to say during the winter, the kimin de metanfi, since you're already dirty from the streets. And this obviously I don't think this would apply nowadays, but since you're already dirty from the streets in the winter because it's all muddy, so you don't care, you don't mind going through this puddle. But in the summer, you would say, no, a person's not interested. He has no interest in getting himself all wet. So therefore, we're saying it's still considered reshus harabim because people still want to go through each one. Abaya Amar Itzrich, he has a different shot. Itzrich, then maybe this is only where it's not for Amos. But if it was Dalet Amos, people would go around the puddle instead of through the puddle. So that's why you need to tell you that even if people normally go around it, still we would still consider it a reshus harabim. Rav Ashi Omar, he has a different shot. It's you need it. But maybe it's dalet, so it's too big for people to jump over. So therefore it's considered part of reshus harabim. They have to go through it. But where it's not dalet, mifsei psaile, they're going to jump over it, and therefore we don't look at that puddle like it's part of reshus harabim. So therefore we're saying no. Even so, it's considered part of reshus harabim, and you'd be chayiv as long as it's less than 10 tefachim deep. V'as the Ravashi letamei, and Ravashi is going according to another opinion that he has. Damar Ravashi, Haiman dezarik b'noch agud de gamla mechayiv sharei rabim boykim boy. Right? Somebody, if a good of the gamla is you have what do you call a bridge, and the bridges back then were made out of slats of wood. So let's say you had one slat that was very loose. So as people walked across the bridge, nobody wanted to step on that slat because they would afraid for their lives. So everybody jumps over there. So now that's not considered like something that's part of reshus harabim. Yeah. So what happens if somebody takes something and throws a ball and it lands on that, specifically on that slat that nobody uses? So maybe that's not considered reshus harabim. So Rav Ashi is saying no, it is, right? Even though most people jump over it, but since it's part of the reshus harabim, therefore it has the status of reshus harabim. So the same thing with these puddles. Even though the puddle may not be so wide or wide or long, and people would jump over it, it's still considered part of reshus harabim. Again, Rav Ashi tamei. Because the Rabbim goes through it, fine. Zok the Mishna. If somebody throws from the water to the dry land, and from the dry land to the water, from the water to a boat, and from the boat to the water, and from one boat to another boat, all of these are potter, because again, it's karmelis to a reshus hayachid. Sfinas kshura zu bezu. If you have 2 boats tied to each other, then metaltal mezuzah zu. You're allowed to carry from one boat to the other. Okay, even though they're two different edifices, you're still allowed to carry from one to the other. Im einon kshuros, but if they're not tied to each other, even though they're right next to each other, ein metaltal mezuzah zu, you're not allowed to, because there's a karmelis in between. Meaning, as long as they're tied to each other, they're looked at as one entity. If they're not tied to each other, they're not. And you're just like you can't carry from one person's private house to another person's private house without an eruv. So too, you can't go from one boat to the other boat. But by tying it, makes it into one entity, and then you're allowed to. Yeah. So Itmar, should we stop here? It's 10:05. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll stop here because it's one big sugya. So it's not such a long daf tomorrow, so it should be all right. Okay. Rabbi Yeshua, thank you for the show and tell. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. All right, a good enough. Okay. Peretz, you coming from Myriv? If there's more than 10 guys out there, should I hold off some so that you can get?
No, I'm coming, but don't worry about it.
I'm coming also. I'm coming with my 3 boys.
Okay, I'll see how many are out there.
2 boys.
Peretz.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So, talking about the sport, something that you like, okay? I don't know if you ever saw it. Julius Erving, his famous move under the basket. You ever saw that?
Which one?
He started on the right side, and they cut him off. So he continued and went under the basket and came out on the left side. You saw that? You ever see it?
I'm sure I did.
Look it up, and if you get the one, when they show it where you have the reaction of the players and they talk about it, because it was against the Lakers and Magic Johnson, so just to see how they had so much hana that they wanted, he could do it, because that's their life. It's just amazing. Those 2-3 minutes is tremendous. Mom, it's so enjoyable. And I had a game once. I said to your brother now, Michael Jordan. I was at a Knicks playoff game against the Bulls.
Right.
And so I don't know who was guarding Jordan. It was top of the key. It was the end of the game. It was Mamish, real playoff game, Geschmack. Jordan went up in the air, and the guy went up with him. Mamish was in his face, had his hand in his face. And then he came down. Jordan didn't come down.
Right.
It was like the whole.
I remember watching that.
18,000 people were looking at each other like, "What happened? Like, how did that happen?" And he had a clear shot because after the play was over, everybody just turned to each other, dumbfounded. Like,
I remember seeing that.
I was at that game. I don't know, when it was. Sometime
I remember watching that. All right. Gute Nacht.
Gute Nacht, everybody.